All right, let me try going live.
Okay.
All right, let's see. I'm going to hang up the phone because it's feeding back,
Yeah, yeah, okay. Okay.
but I can hear you.
I can talk to you, so yeah. Okay.
All right, and my visual on the screen is many seconds delayed from what I'm actually doing. So how's that confusing? All right, are we good to go? I'm waiting for Pete or Becky to give me a heads up that we're good to go. Ah, there's Amy who says I can see Elke and Becky. That's good. All right. And Jerry says, I hear you. Okay. So sorry about the delay in getting started this time. New system for us this month with as well as YouTube for the workshop. So we're going to get started, and I'm now ready to go. As long as can Pete or Becky give me a heads up on as to whether we're good to go. Um,
I think you're good to go, but I'm not saying anything about being good.
um, I think I have to turn off. I have to mute my computer so that I can send out.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's just check the tuning. And I tuned my instrument earlier, but I had a problem with my violin this morning where the string popped out of place. So let me just make sure it's still there. So that's my A. And we'll just tune everything up. So everybody take this time to tune if you need to. All right. Well, there we are. And I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm Elke Baker, and this is the Potomac Valley Scottish Fiddle Club December workshop. And we're trying a new system where we have both Zoom and YouTube going at once for this workshop. So we'll see how it works. Really, it's new territory for all of us. And I'm getting some technical advice that it looks like things are working. And please do let me know if there's a problem because I can't really tell sitting here in my living room. All right. This week, for the month of December here in Fiddle Club, we have a workshop that's themed around winter holidays. I've been interested in doing something like this for a while. There are actually, as it turns out, a reasonable number of Christmas or New Year's themed tunes in Scottish music. In Scottish history, New Year's Eve, Hogmanay, as they call it in Scotland, has always been the big deal. That is the thing that I would say shines important in Scottish culture. But Christmas, while that was maybe a bigger deal for the English than the Scots, historically speaking, there still is a fair amount of musical things that relate to both topics, and I thought we'd explore that this month. It also gave me excuse to follow up on last month's workshop on Ronnie Cooper, the composer from Shetland, because Shetland has a bit of a Christmas music tradition, and it's it's unique to Shetland. Certain tunes that get played in a ceremonial way in Shetland. So the first one, this one that I want to teach by ear, is from Fredman Stickle. We have heard from him before. We have at least 2, maybe 3 Fredman Stickle tunes. He's a Shetland fiddler from late 1800s, I believe. And this tune, called Christmas Day in the Morning, in Shetland dialect, is a Fredman Stickle tune. I'm unclear as to whether he composed it himself or it's his repertoire. That's one thing that's a little bit difficult to tell. But I've credited it to him in our Fiddle Club music. The tune is a jig, but it would probably not be played for dancing. It's more of a listening piece, and the tradition is that it would be played first thing in the morning on Christmas Day in Shetland. And I had meant to bring along Tom Anderson's description of this, but so I could read you the description in Shetland dialect. Of course, nobody can do it quite like Tom Anderson did in explaining it. But Christmas Day in the Morning would have been played early on, and would awaken the household. So here's the tune. I need to adjust my camera so that you can actually see my fingers, and that's one disadvantage here, is that I cannot see until several minutes later what's visible on the screen. So this tune is in mostly the key of D, but the second section is really in A minor. And most of it just works up and down the scale, so you can think of it as mostly a scale tune. Here's the beginning. The pickup notes, half a bar of pickup. So starting on the note D, and we're just going right up the scale. All right, here's what comes next. Back to the D. Okay, so that's the beginning, the pickup notes and the first full bar. The second bar goes right down. Like that. So putting the first 2 bars and the pickups together. Let's do that a few times. Okay, next bit is a little bit of a snap. So it's a snap from the B note to a G note. Just like that. So here we go. This is the first, the full bar, 3rd bar. Fourth bar. Well, I started with the 3rd bar. Anyway, here's the 3rd bar going into the 4th bar. In fact, let's just do the 3rd and 4th bars together. The snap. All right, now I'm going to put together the first phrase of the tune, pickup notes and 4 bars. Same thing. And again. Okay, I'm going to continue with the next phrase. We have a pickup note to the next phrase, and then we're going to work scale-wise. Here's what happens. Pickup note F sharp, and then it continues with a scale from E going up and then back down. Last note is an A, not in the scale. It would be a B in the scale. We're not doing that note. Skip to the A. Let me play that phrase again. Again. Okay, so hopefully that scale is going fine. We're almost to the end of the phrase. We just have to play kind of doodles around the note A, 2 triplets, and then D notes. So the last 2 bars of that phrase. All right, we have 8 bars, the first whole phrase of the tune. Let me put it together for you. Listen, then play along. I'll play it again. I'll play it a few times. Once more. All right, now the second phrase of this tune is different, but it's not very much different. It's only different right at the beginning. So let's look at the beginning of this A part phrase. We have the pickup notes, and then it carries on with etc. Right? The second time through, when we take the repeat of the phrase, it's different at the beginning. We have the same pickup notes, but then it goes up high, and that's tied. And I'm playing a little bit of an extra pulse in there, even though I'm tying the note together. So then it carries on the same way as before, and nothing else about the phrase is different. So it's just right at the beginning, that first full bar of music in the phrase. So here is the second phrase. This time I'm going to put together the entire A part. Remember, the first time the pickup notes starts that way, and then we carry on. The second time, going up. And otherwise, the entire phrase is the same. So let's play the entire first half of this tune. Christmas Day into morning. The whole thing again. And now I can't remember whether I played both parts or not. I have to tell you, it is so disconcerting to watch myself play something that I played, 10 bars ago while I'm doing something different. And I can't see any of you either. So back to playing one more time through the first half of the tune. right, that's the first half of the tune. I'm hoping that's okay. With this Zoom delay, anybody sending me a message, send me a message on the live chat on YouTube if you have a question or you need to say something. I don't even know how to see all of you in a Zoom gallery, and I don't want to mess anything up, so I'm not going to touch the computer. So we're going to move along to the B part, and I'm hoping that's okay. Now the B part is temporarily shifting into a different key. We've played in the key of D so far in this tune. Nothing unusual about it at all. We're working the D scale. But in the second half, we've really shifted to A minor. Any C notes in here are now going to be C natural instead of C sharp. There's also a feature that, this is one of the reasons I particularly wanted to teach this tune by ear rather than off sheet music. It's in 6/8. Most of the notes are, triplets if they're grouped together. Here in the B part, we have a quadruplet. And it's a lot easier to do than it is to describe or look at. So the B part starts on an E note. And then we have our triplet, which is just going down from E and going up from E. So the notes in the quadruplet are those 4 notes. Going from E to D, E to F sharp. And so we have an E to start with, and then the quadruplet. So don't worry about the timing of it, just get the 4 notes in the space, and it'll sort itself out. Okay, here's what comes next. And that's a G and a B. I'm going to carry on now. The next bit, we're back squarely into 6/8 time, normal jiggy feel. So the 3rd and 4th bars of this phrase are. So it's just scale work. A, right up the scale, but remember we're using C natural at this point. Okay, so here we have, now let's do 4 bars of the B part. So we have our E note, our quadruplet, 2 more long notes, G and B, and then A in the scale. Again. All right, so that is the first 4 bars of the B part. Next 4 bars starts the same way. It's the E, the quadruplet, the G, and the B. And the ending is this. So it goes from the A note to an E, and then we're coming down with a gapped scale. Again. Here's the last 4 bars of the B part. All right. So now I'll put the entire B part together. The B part is just 8 bars. It does repeat exactly except for the turnaround. So when you finish up the phrase, it goes one way. When you're finishing the phrase in order to go back to the beginning, it's a little bit different because it tacks on the pickup notes that you need to get started. So here's the entire B part. E note, quadruplet, long notes, A's, scale, E note, quadruplets, long notes, and then that ending phrase with the A, E, gapped scale coming down. Let's repeat that. Let's do it again. All right, to take it back to the beginning. Did that sound kind of familiar? We're taking the pickup notes to the beginning and kind of packing them into the second ending of the B part. See how I went through those pickup notes a little quicker on that turnaround from the B part to the A part than I would if I were just starting the tune from the beginning. Like that. All right. From the very beginning, Christmas Day in the morning, the whole thing. Let's see if you've got the parts that you remember. If you don't remember everything, we'll go through it more than once. I'm going to keep it at this moderate tempo. And I'll just say that although this is a jig, since its purpose is not really for dancing, the tempo is up to you. So it can be much more stately than a typical jig. There's no need for it to be fast. I would say that its ideal tempo is kind of moderate. that is Christmas Day in the Morning, the Shetland tune from Fredman Stickle. And I hope you enjoyed that. Give me some feedback in the chat if you like. And I am just going to assume that everybody's up for another tune. So let's go for it. Let's see. I think that maybe the next tune to give you would be a reel. All right, so let's go for this reel. This one is well, it's from the Sky collection, but the version I gave you is from a piping collection called the Gun Collection. I gave you the Gun Collection version because it corrects what I think is a misprint in Sky. But essentially, I know about this too because of the Sky collection. It's called a Visk, a Hur, a Nolek Orn. That's a Gaelic. And it is translated both in the book and I think a pretty accurate one as the Christmas carousing. Nolek in Gaelic is the word for Christmas. And it basically is a drinking song. Now, I'm going to follow what I don't know if many of you from this Washington, D.C. area may have been familiar with Mary Cliff, the longtime folk music radio host. And Mary used to play for these holiday occasions. She would advise, be moderate in your drinking and be excessive in your drinking songs. So we're going to follow that advice with the music. Play a good drinking reel. Don't overdo it yourself. And let me play this reel for you so you can hear what it's like. It's a very pipey sounding tune, but it sits well for fiddlers as well. And I'm sure it sits well on a number of other instruments. Also in the key of D, but it kind of fools you because it starts out as if it's an A Mixolydian tune and then migrates its direction. So I think it might even be in the Sky collection as if it's in the key of A. So I think that I'm gonna go ahead and teach this phrase by phrase, and our pickup note. We always start with the pickup note in Fiddle Club because if you know the pickup note, at least you know how to get started. So it's A, high A. Now, of course, all of our notes in this tune are in pipe range, so we're not going to play any notes other than these. Those are the only notes in the tune. So, high A pickup note, and then it's E and A. Now, you have some choices here, because this is a style thing. You can play them straight. Or you can do what pipers and, to some extent, Cape Breton fiddlers would do, this kind of approach to a reel. And I've been doing that most of the time playing this tune. So it just converts the last two eighth notes into a little bit of a snap. Now, as soon as you begin cutting it like that, and that's how Cape Breton fiddlers would view this. Instead of just playing, they cut that long note into. Once you cut it, you can cut it into more than two notes. So you could play a burl. Now, if you choose to do that, you're going to have to slur somewhere to compensate for it, or your bowing gets all mucked up. If you're playing a bowed instrument. Now, if you're playing something else like pipes or whistle or flute, hey, that doesn't affect you. Just go for it. And experiment with cutting the note into two or three with snap or without. All right, so in our beginning, we have what pickup note? Good, you remembered. It's an A, high A. Right? So, and then going on, the next figure is that definitive G mixolydian feel. So we're going from B to G and right back. So here we go. Here's what comes next. Again, in the Sky collection, there's a snap here. You can play it straight if you want. So the two A notes snapped. And this is your first hint that we have a tune that maybe D is a little bit important. So let's play the first two measures of this reel. Let's put it together. What's the pickup note? A. Let's do it again. And again. Right, so we have two measures of the tune so far. The next two measures are very nearly the same. So our first two measures. Second two measures. That's the only difference, right at the end. Instead of, we just end on the D. Like that. So, second two measures, nearly the same as the first two measures. Let's put four measures together, because I think you can handle that change. No faster, though. Like that. A few more times. before we get carried away with the speed there, I want to teach the second half so that we can put it together. So in the second half, we just ended that first half very clearly on the note D. So despite our sneaky beginning that made you think we were in some version of A, we now have landed firmly on D. And the second part just carries on. We're now in the key of D, and we're going to be playing D arpeggios. So pickup note, still a high A. Find that high A? Yep. Now the arpeggio notes for the key of D. D, F sharp, A. So we're going to be running through those notes for the first bar. So with a pickup note of A, we arpeggio our way along. So those are the notes of the first bar. Let's do that again. Here is the second bar of the B part. We're going from E to A. Let's do that again. Here's the second 2-bar phrase. The pickup note this time is a G, because we were just sitting here, I don't know if you noticed this, but we were sitting here in the G chord. So we're temporarily in the key of G with a G chord there. So we play that end of the second bar, G pickup note, and that takes us directly to this repeat of what we did before with the arpeggio. How did that second bar go again? Yeah, it went like this. Pickup note, right? So here is the second part of the tune, the B part. So far, we have a high A pickup note, arpeggios, shifting to E and A, temporary key, G pickup, arpeggio again, E and A, and hang on the D note. So let's try that. Let's put that together. Let's do it again. Again. And I'm going to carry on because the next part is the same, except the pickup note, rather than being A, is G. Once you're in the stream of things, looks like G is your go-to pickup. So we're now near the end of bar 6. We have 2 bars left, plus their pickup, and it's a little different. It's a fancy ending. But the fancy ending is not really all that fancy. After all, we're in pipe scale, so how many notes are there available for us? Yeah, 9 notes. You knew that. All right. So the pickup note for the last 2 bars for our fancy schmancy ending is an E. Now, this is mainly so that you remember you're heading someplace different. Because if you went to a high A or you went to a high G, you'd be ready to arpeggio, wouldn't you? Right. So the E note pickup is the key to saying, we're headed somewhere different. Right? So we just had E pickup note, and this signals, okay, something different is happening. We're going to the D note next. So D, A, A. So with an E pickup note, next bit is scales. We're going to play up and down, or down and up, and then down again on the scale. So we just had this E pickup, start of the fancy ending, F sharp, down the scale, and back up, down, skip. Let me play that scale bit again. The scale, after you do F sharp, again. All right, I would like to link that in with the rest of the B part. Other than this so-called fancy ending, the rest of it is mostly arpeggio world and quite repetitious because it's a 2-bar phrase that, with slight tweaks, repeats itself. So, what is the pickup note for the beginning of the B part? High A, good guess. Right, so here we go with arpeggios. G, E pickup note this time. The ending. Scales. Let's do it again. B part again. All right, I think we need to get back to the beginning of this tune. Anybody remember how it started? Why, yes, with that high A pickup note. And we're temporarily, sort of sneaking around as if we're in the key of A. It's a false idea that we're teasing people with, but that's how it starts, sounding like a reel in the key of A. And that is Aviska Hur and Nolak Oren, or the Christmas Carousing, from the Sky collection, but taken for us from the Gun collection. And I hope you enjoyed that tune. And I'm going to assume that people are up for another tune by ear. If you're not, I won't probably know until I'm well launched into it. So let's go for it. I've given you 2 Christmas tunes, but I mentioned at the very beginning of this that really Hogmanay, New Year's Eve, is the big thing in Scotland. There are so many traditions surrounding Hogmanay. All of these things about, who people go first footing on Hogmanay, where they go around to their friends' houses, and there are all these traditions about, what is coming for you in the new year, depending on who is the first person to enter your doorway, on New Year's. So there's all kinds of traditions, and it's quite a big thing and a lot of fun. So Hogmanay Strathspey, this is an interesting tune in its source. It's from Gow, but it's not from one of the normal Gow collections. We've got 6 Gow collections, 4 Gow repositories. We've taken highlights from many of these throughout the years of Fiddle Club. This one's not in any of those. It's a single sheet. So what we'd call a broadsheet that was just published as, hey, here's a tune. And I don't have this actual piece of music myself, but through the magic of posting things online, a lot of the libraries of Scotland have postings of their sheet music online, so you can look at some of the old collections and old bits, letters, single sheets, manuscript things. Many of these are now scanned and available through online catalogs from some of the great research libraries of Scotland, many of which have significant Scottish fiddle music collections. So this comes from a source like that. Hogmanay Strathspey, I'm going to play it for you, but I just had a question which finally popped up many measures later about the last tune, and I'm going to answer it before moving on. So the question was about bowings in the second in the second part of the tune, the Christmas carousing. And when you have these separate I'm playing those all separately, but you can probably tell I'm not giving them all equal value. If I gave them all equal value, it'd sound like a violinist playing an etude. And that's not a real. So they're all getting different emphasis. So I'm being selective in which ones are getting more accented, and it's usually off beats. Now you can emphasize that in a sort of a double way. That in and of itself is a legitimate bowing style, and that's probably what many people in Cape Breton favor, and a little bit more of a Highlandy style. This is a pipe tune, so it's appropriate. But you can also do bowings that kind of re-emphasize the back beat. They would definitely do that if they were playing this tune in Shetland. I don't know if they do play this tune in Shetland. But in other parts of Scotland, they do this as well. And so it's kind of a 3 and a bow thing. Let me see if I can get it going. So there I put it in almost everywhere that it was possible to do it. To my ear, that's a little bit overdone, and I would probably really just do it not so much on the arpeggio passages, but on the scale passages. Something like that, or maybe... Yeah, so just a couple select places. Okay, I think that answers the question. So now I want to get back to this Hogmanay Strathspey from Nathaniel Gow's broadsheet. Here's the tune. So my violin is sounding like it needs a little bit of retuning. So let me just quickly check tuning. I did mention that my A string misbehaved earlier today. All right. So, the Hogmanay Strathspey. That's better. It's much better in tune now. All right. The Hogmanay Strathspey is in the key of G, and it's making use of a lot of arpeggios. So let's find our G arpeggio notes. We're probably going to need several octaves of this, so let's go for it. Low G, B, D, and then G, B, D. Let's stop there. So just locate those notes. Let's do that again. All right, now let's use them in Strathspey time. So I am going to mention right now that, as is not uncommon in a piece published around this time period, which would be 1800-ish, something like that. A lot of the snaps and dots in Strathspeys at this time are do-it-yourself. So if it says Hogmanay Strathspey, clearly you're supposed to be playing with dots and snaps. However, they don't necessarily tell you exactly what to do. If you're a Strathspey player, you know what to do, they assume. So I'm going to give you an interpretation, which is sort of my feeling of, okay, at this speed, with this styling, this is the kind of snap and dot system that works. Dots and snaps are somewhat at the player's discretion. It's not random. If you do it wrong, it's not going to sound Scottish, but it's not something that's necessarily set in stone. And especially if the tempo changes, if you're playing much slower or much faster, that can really affect how the dots and snaps work in a Strathspey. Okay, I'm starting off with the D pickup note, open D, and then I'm snapping 2 Gs. And then it's arpeggio land from there. So snap, dotted, snap, dotted. And since this is our third tune by ear, I push it along a little faster clip. The good thing about this being a YouTube stream is that you can always go back and watch it later. You can even use the feature where you slow it down if I'm teaching too fast. Okay, second bar, new notes, still snap rhythm from an E note to an A note, and scale. So let's play that again. So, first 2 bars put together. Third bar, just like the first. And then the ending. that's one of my favorite Strathspey figures, which is that quadruplet of notes right here. And here's some things I don't do. I don't slur those notes together. I don't do, because that just makes them blurry, indistinct. I also don't tend to play them separated, although there are certain occasions where I would play a quadruplet, all separate bows. This is not one of them. So I wouldn't be doing, so definitely not slurred. And definitely, well, in these circumstances, not separated. Instead, what I like to do is slur two and separate two. And this lets me lean on the first one and compress the later ones. Which gives it a real style boost, I would say. It's like a style power up. So even though I'm leaning on the first one, I'm keeping the overall tempo quite steady. And that, in fact, is like the key to the magic of Strathspeys, is that there's all this irregular stuff happening between the beats. The beats happen right on time. They never change. So you don't, it shouldn't lurch around. It has the illusion that it's lurching, but it's not really. It's really rock solid steady. So, last bar of the phrase for the Hogmanay Strathspey. Right. So I have some people telling me, probably many comments ago, but the comments are only just catching up to me now. The first snap, and it's written differently. Yes, it's written differently. I'm teaching this tune by ear, and if you're looking at the sheet music right now, that's not what I'm doing. I'm not teaching from sheet music. I'm teaching you my version written. So if you do have the sheet music out, correct it. Give it Elke's version. So Elke's version says snap, and it's about time to return and put the entire 4-bar phrase of the first half of the Hogmanay Strathspey together. Right. So coming up, B part. Once again, if you're using the sheet music, which you shouldn't be at this point because this is a by ear tune, I am changing what's written there. I told you that snaps were at the discretion of the player. If you don't know what you're doing, you can get in trouble. If you do know what you're doing, you can vastly improve the tune. So I am operating under the theory that I actually know what I'm doing, and I am changing this tune to suit my driving of this Strathspey. So my driving says, snap it. So here's what I do in the B part. Let me just play it for you first, and then we'll do some slowed down teaching. So, 2 pickup notes, B and C. And then we're in arpeggio land, but we're now in the mid-range rather than the low range. Snap. Snap. Let's do that again. All right, second bar. I am of two minds how to snap this. Shall I dot it? Or shall I snap the first one and dot the rest? To me, they both sound good. They're both equally plausible. They both fit. So it would be a spur of the moment decision. I'm going to, for teaching purposes, try to be consistent about snapping that first one. Let's play that a few times. That time I wanted to dot it just felt right, which is one of the things that you can do when you've freed yourself from this notion that you must play the dots as written on the page. They're not always correct for the situation that you find yourself in when you're playing them. So take them as a hint or take expert advice. Let's play the first two bars of the B part. Again. Now we're going to get into the part of the tune that really marks this tune as being a 19th century tune. I really think that you can date the tune by the kind of compositional elements that are in it. And this business of going from everything's been in G so far. And then we go very dramatically into E minor with this hard cadence on E minor. Later 19th century players like Joseph Lowe and J. Scott Skinner exploited that kind of shift from a major key to its relative minor and employed it in Strathspey fairly often. So that's almost a distinctive mark of what Strathspey did in 19th century Scotland. So this is an earlier version of that. It's a little clumsier than Skinner would have done it for sure. But it's a little bit of a minor key drama in this tune. So let's play the first two bars of Hogmanay Strathspey B part and then learn this E minor section. And then we start on G, but now we're actually playing it E minor arpeggio. It's different in that instead of a D note, E note. So let's play that arpeggio section. And then the cadence, end of the phrase, right down the scale. D sharp, this is what makes it, specifically a B major chord. And puts that drama in. So the third and fourth bars of the phrase. Again. And now we get to what I think of as being the fun part of the tune. Pick up notes of E and F sharp. And then we're right down the scale from G, a series of snaps, because that drives this thing along. So So just on the scale notes from G. Excellent. And continuing on, we're now into the second bar of the second phrase of the B part. And the second bar is so a series of snaps with big jumps. C to A and B to G. And those kinds of figures are almost always snapped when they occur in Strathspey. So here's the first two bars of the second 4-bar phrase of the B part, and I'm making some notes for myself on how I'm snapping this. I can make that available to Fiddle Club members after this workshop later on. Snaps. And the ending. The ending of the A part, except for some reason that really boggles my mind. They went simple instead of using that delightful figure of the. So feel free to insert that if you wish. I think it's more fun, and I'm probably going to do it more times than I'm going to leave it out. So I'm actually just going to write in that quadruplet for my own purposes, just because I like it. And why go plain after you've already been fancy, especially when you just had this really dramatic ending. So speaking of dramatic endings, let's do the last 4 bars of the B part. And again. Reverse that snap, because after doing that sets it off much better. So we're going to practice that and put that into the piece. The entire 8 bars of the B part, please. How did the B part start? Anybody remember? Yeah, I almost forgot myself. Right. So right, it was the mid-range G arpeggios. The drama. Snaps. All right, so now I want to remind you how the beginning of this tune was. We actually kind of rehearsed it because it comes back at the end. From the beginning, what was the pickup note? Low D. Yep. let's just play through this tune 1 or 2 times, and then we'll move on to learning the rest of the tunes from sheet music. So that is the Hogmanay Strathspey, and I hope you've enjoyed learning that tune by ear. So let's go ahead and switch to sheet music. I hope you had the opportunity to download the sheet music from the Potomac Valley Scottish Fiddle Club members page. If you have not had a chance to do that, you can go to Potomac Valley Scottish Fiddle.org, and right on the front page for now, the pages are available for anybody to download. And if you missed this opportunity to do it, the sheets of music remain available in the members area of the Potomac Valley Scottish Fiddle Club webpage for download anytime. And all you have to do is join the Fiddle Club. It's the best membership money you ever spent. It's actually quite cheap, and considering that you get 8 free workshops for it, as well as a free book of sheet music, that alone is well worth the price. In fact, it's a bargain. Try going to any other workshop for fiddling anywhere, or buying any other fiddle music book, and you'd be paying more just for the book or the one workshop than you do for an entire year of Fiddle Club membership benefits. So what can I say? It is a deal, and I highly recommend it to anyone who's interested in this music. On page 11 of our current book of music, which is book 28, we have the Hogmanay jig. We had one version of this before when we were looking at music by Scottish accordionist Andrew Rankin. We featured this tune in its original form. This is not its original form. It's in a new key, the key of C. Andrew Rankin wrote it in A. And it's got just a few little tweaks of, in the details. In essence, it's exactly the same tune in a new key. But I wanted to present it this way for a couple of reasons. One is that I got used to playing it in this key, and it was only later that I found out that it was in A. And I also think it sits remarkably well in the key of C. There are so many tunes in the key of A that when you find a good one in another key, you kind of latch on and say, wow, I want to really learn some of these tunes that are not in the most common keys ever. And so I was actually surprised to discover that Andrew Rankin wrote it in A, because I actually think it sounds awesome in the key of C. So here is the C version of the Hogmanay jig, and I learned this one somewhat indirectly from Wendy Morrison, who's an accordion player in the Washington, D.C. area. And this is Wendy's version of Andrew Rankin's Hogmanay jig. that is the Hogmanay jig. So let's play it through a little slower for starters and then work up the tempo. All right. So anybody is listening on Zoom, your screen may have gone dark and you may be done. I am supposing that I'm still live streaming on YouTube. I would like somebody to confirm that. So either Peter or Becky, please confirm that I'm still streaming and that people can see and hear me. My screen is dark. And actually, I'm too busy teaching to mess with it. So I'm hoping that it's working. Can somebody confirm that for me? And I'm going to just continue on as if it's working fine and assume that the YouTube aspect of this is going. So I'm going to move on to page 12. The day dawn. And I'm going to type a text here because I'm not getting any confirmation either via text or chat. So
Elke.
Send a text and confirm in the tech end that we're working.
Elke, I think you are still on. Elke, can you hear me? Maybe not. Okay. I can see you, Elke.
So I'm asking them to confirm that sound and video are working. And hopefully that's fine. For now, I'm just going to assume everything's fine, and I'm going to keep playing. So on page 12, we have another Shetland tune. This is another one that is working in it's one of the Shetland tradition of playing early in the morning on Yule, as they call it. So Yule, in Shetland, they would tend to call it Yule rather than Christmas, and it's a time period that extends for more than just one day. But Yule, of course, is the Scandinavian word for Christmas. And so in Shetland, with that, heavy Scandinavian influence as well as the Scottish influence, This is a Yuletide tune, "The Day Dawn," and obviously it's meant to be played in the morning, right? It's an air with a somewhat open-ended meter, and this is another very Scandinavian feature about it. It's written out as if it's in 4/4, but that's not really how the tune is phrased. The phrasing is somewhat irregular, and it frequently is not where the bar line is. So just keep that in mind. I'm going to play the tune for you. So let's play this one together. And I'm going to stop from time to time to give you a few comments on phrasing. So I kind of drag that note out a little bit. Now I'm not in any hurry to finish that slur. And that repetition of a small phrase, very, very Hardanger fiddle-ish. It's very like Norwegian fiddlers would do. And that this tune is probably something that had its origins in Norway and made its way to Shetland, where it got handed down, reinterpreted some. It really, really takes a lot of the Norwegian fiddling techniques and runs with them. And that's really the end of the first phrase, midway through bar 2. I considered rewriting this tune so that it was in, those phrases were put together, but then that became problematic in other ways. So I decided not to mess with it. But that's the end of the first phrase. The second phrase, we got the same 2 repetitions of the. And that's really the end of the second phrase. So, first phrase, second phrase. Then the first phrase repeats. And this ending phrase. That's also found in the second part. So, on to the second part. So it's actually done something quite interesting. Again, a sort of a Scandinavian way of developing a tune where they have substituted a new beginning onto the same framework of phrases. So first time through the phrase, in this development part, same ending of the phrase. and then this new development part. And this ending is also the second ending phrase of the second phrase in the first part of the tune. So from the pickups to the third line on the printed page, the high part. From the top. And that is "Da Day Dawn," a Shetland tune typically played on the morning of Yule. Well, next on page 12, we have a Strathspey, Blianur. Now, that is kind of a abbreviation for A Vliana Ur. The New Year is what it literally means. It's translated as New Year's Day by Simon Fraser himself. And Simon Fraser had these two New Year's Strathspeys that he learned from his father or his grandfather, who were great sources of music for him. So let me play it for you. It's one of these tunes where at the start you're wondering, what key is it really in? And then it settles in and you find out it's really a Strathspey in the key of C, a modal version of C. Here it is. Those of you who were in Fiddle Club last year may have maybe remembering the Strathspeys with triplets variations workshop that I did. I did that last year. I think February was the month that we did it. Strathspeys have this triplet feel lurking in between the beats, and this Strathspey lets them out, especially in the second part of the B part. So you got this whole section where it's just triplets, 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 triplets. And it would be perfectly fine to play that without triplets. Sort of simplifying it, but it's kind of more fun to say, okay, let's go ahead and get fancy. So sorry for the out of tune notes there. That I am actually playing that in second position. Anybody who's playing fiddle, I'm substituting my first finger for the second finger note there, the G note. And that actually really simplifies it. It's probably the easiest way to play that. But we don't play in second position very often, so sometimes you miss your mark. All right, let's play this Strathspey slowly and then build up to speed. That Strathspey, sometimes the dots and snaps are at the player's discretion. Let me just tell you something. This is from the Simon Fraser collection. Simon Fraser was an awesome fiddler, and he knew what he was doing. So I just follow his advice for the snaps. It usually works out just great, and I would recommend you do that too. So there we have Leonor New Year's Day from the Simon Fraser collection. I'm going to move it right along. And I've got a couple of things I wanted to be sure to tell you about. I am doing a concert tomorrow. So if you're watching this on Fiddle Club Day, December 13th, my concert is December 14th, Institute of Musical Traditions. And it's a streaming concert. It's a live stream. We're going to actually be performing tomorrow night in a studio with separation barriers between those of us in the band. And it's going to be live streamed, and you can view it in your home. Wear headphones for good sound, or play it on your stereo or Bluetooth speakers for good sound. And you can get tickets at IMT imtfolk.org, and I hope to see you there. And what other announcements do I have? Oh, yeah. I want to tell you I do have some new recordings. And so since I no longer have monitor feedback of what I'm showing you, I'm hoping this is about the right size. But this is my new recording. Wait till you hear this one with my band Sugar Beet. And Sugar Beet is Mark Glickman, Susan Brandt, and me. And this cover art is very special to me. It was done by Julia Andrews, who just happens to be my daughter. And I wanted to show you one other thing, which is this is the first time I've done this in 1 year. I have 2 recordings all coming out. And this is my recording that is now in production. In a few days, it'll be out and available for shipping. As soon as the manufacturers ship it to us, we can ship it to you. It's On a Cold Winter's Day. And as it sounds from the title, it is a recording of seasonal music, and it's what will be featured in my concert tomorrow night at imtfolk.org. So enough with the announcements. Let's get back to the tunes. The Hogmanay, the strathspey that's just called simply Hogmanay, or Adieu to the Old Year, Sori leis an Teanna Bhliana in Gaelic, which really pretty much literally means away with the old year. So Adieu to the Old Year is actually a pretty good translation. Here's how the tune goes. So that's Hogmanay, Adieu to the Old Year. It's another one that Simon Fraser got from his father and grandfather. This one would sound really great on a fiddle that's tuned A-E-A-E. That's not what this one is tuned. This one's tuned in standard tuning. But if you happen to be one of those people who's willing to try those alternate tunings, go for it, because it would sound really great in that tuning. I'm going to point out a few things as we go through it. So for that, I try to sort of park on the A arpeggio notes and try to let them ring out. Part, there's this cool thing that I'm going to point out. And it was right there. So it looks almost like it's like, what? 30-second notes written in the music? Who wants to play it that way? And so it's tempting to just go, which, if you convert them to regular 16th notes, that's fine. But what it does by making them 30 seconds notes is it stretches out that note. You hear how that's that A, and it almost converts those to ornament notes. Not quite. They're a little more significant than ornament notes, but it stretches it so that the little notes are littler, the big note is bigger, and it's, once again, one of those many things that's done in strathspeys where the beat is steady, but between the beats you got a lot of elasticity, and you can stretch and move things around between the beats. Okay, the B part again. From the beginning. Faster. All right. Well, I'm going to move along now to the last tune on page 13, New Christmas, also known as the bass reel. And people who play fiddle can probably figure out pretty easily why it's called the bass reel. I had a choice of getting this from the Sky Collection or the Seren Collection. So I looked in the Seren Collection, which is arranged for piano. And for the convenience of playing the left-hand part of the piano, they got rid of the bass part. So, how can you have the bass reel if you never go down in the bass range? So of course I did not use the Seren version. I'm giving you the Sky Collection version because it is way better and it doesn't miss the point of the tune. So here is New Christmas, the bass reel. So that is New Christmas, the bass reel. Let's play it through slowly at first and then gradually work the speed up a little bit. And that's New Christmas, the bass reel. And I hope you enjoyed that one. Let's see. We've got some tunes on page 14. And a song air for a change of pace called A Good New Year. A Good New Year to You. I don't know what the song words are. This one comes from Kohler's Violin Repository, and just a couple years ago, we had a featured workshop on Kohler's Violin Repository. I featured tunes from that collection. That's a collection that W.B. Laybourne edited and wrote some of the music himself, including the famous unnamed hornpipe, known as Kohler's hornpipe from the collection, probably written by him. A lot of the only sources that we have for the music of James Hill come from this Kohler's Violin Repository, so it's a pretty cool collection in that way. Here's A Good New Year, and for those of you following along on the music, the last 8 bars are designated the chorus. So if you want to sing, I guess you'll have to make up your own words since we don't know what they are. But that's where you can join in the chorus. So we'll play it that way, where we'll sort of play those last 8 bars as if we're playing the chorus. So, the verse. Let's all play. Well, that's a sweet tune. I like that one. All right, last up is Christmas Eve from the playing of Chris Norman. Chris plays wooden flute. He's a member of Helicon, and he used to live in Baltimore. So many of you from this area may be familiar with his playing. And this is the time of year that Helicon usually has their winter solstice concerts, which are online this year and available to anyone, anywhere. So even if you're not in the Baltimore area, you can catch a Helicon winter solstice concert this year. So check it out. look them up and join in the fun. Meanwhile, Christmas Eve, this is the last tune in our Fiddle Club selection, although by its title, we probably should have done it first, certainly well before the New Year's Day tunes. But here it is. So I want to just keep playing it, but let's slow it down. Let's go through all three parts and learn them gradually, and then pick up the pace. I'm just going to mention this tune is also well known as an Irish tune. This version of it is a very Scottish interpreted version. So, like many tunes that kind of cross the boundaries, you can play it Irish style if you so choose. But here in Scottish Fiddle Club, we're going to give it a Scottish styling. is Christmas Eve, and we should end our workshop today just by reviewing through a couple of those tunes that we learned by ear. And let's go ahead and begin with Christmas Day in the Morning. Okay, next let's do the Hogmanay Strathspey, the one from Nathaniel Gow's broadsheet. Viska Hur and Nolna Goren, Christmas Carousing, Real. All right, so that is our workshop for this month, December 2020, for the Potomac Valley Scottish Fiddle Club, our theme of Christmas and New Year's, or Hogmanay in Scottish tradition. Quite a few tunes. Let us explore a little bit of a range of style, from Shetland tunes, Highland tunes, to and different eras as well. More modern tunes and ones that were very ancient, 19th century tunes. And I hope you enjoyed this range of styles and types of tunes that fit with this theme. And it was a pleasure teaching you this afternoon. I hope to see you at one of my upcoming concerts. Join the live streams. Those are, and the webcasts. Those are the only concerts we get right now for most of us. And I urge you to support musicians during this time. Keep live music happening and keep the music alive. So enjoy the tunes, and I'll see you next month, if not before, at some webcast. Now, I'm going to mention one more thing, which is we're having a jam session tonight. It is via Zoom. The Zoom link was emailed to all Fiddle Club members. If you're not a Fiddle Club member, go to Potomac Valley Scottish Fiddle.org, and there is still time to contact us via that method. Sign up for the Fiddle Club and get your link and join the Zoom jam tonight. I am also just letting everybody know, send me via the Fiddle Club email, info@pvsfc.org, and let me know what your favorite tunes are for the jam. If you're not able to participate via Zoom, or if your microphone isn't working, you can still request tunes to be played on the jam, and I will be looking for your input on what tunes to play. So thanks very much. Look for your link for the jam session starting at 6:30. Take a dinner break, enjoy some good food, and get refreshed and ready